Dr. Sarah Chen had been aboard Research Station Kepler for 3 months, and for 3 months, Security Officer Marcus Veckler had been avoiding her. Not subtly, shift changes when she entered rooms, alternate routes through corridors, suddenly urgent tasks whenever she approached. It was affecting her research on post-conflict integration and, honestly, hurting her feelings. Sarah was Karnath, 7 feet of dense muscle and natural armor plating, with the distinctive long ears that swept back like blades. Her people had nearly conquered half the known galaxy before humanity brokered the current peace. She'd chosen to serve on mixed-species stations specifically to study integration. But integration required actual interaction, which Marcus seemed determined to avoid. When she finally cornered him in the observation deck, literally blocked his escape route, she'd had enough. "Why are you running from me, human?" Her voice carried that resonant Karnath tone, deeper than human vocal cords allowed. Marcus stopped, trapped between her and the sealed door. He was tall by human standards, 6 feet, broad-shouldered, the kind of build that suggested military background. But standing before Sarah's 7-foot frame, he looked small. His expression wasn't fear, it was exhaustion, resignation. "You want the truth?" he asked quietly. "Yes. Because every time I see you, I remember what your people did to my platoon on Arcturus III." The words hung between them like a blade. Sarah's ears flattened against her skull, shock. "You fought in the border wars. Arcturus III, Year 3. Marcus's voice was steady, factual. "Corporal, Colonial Defense Force, assigned to evacuate civilian settlements before your advance. We got most of them out. Then the Karnath Vanguard arrived 38 hours early." He didn't look away. 43 people in my platoon. We held the evacuation point for 6 hours, bought enough time for the last transports to escape. I was the only one who survived, because a Karnath warrior pulled me from the rubble instead of finishing me. Sarah felt something cold in her chest. She knew about Arcturus III. Every Karnath knew the overreach when commanders pushed too far. The civilian casualties were catastrophic. "So yes, Dr. Chen, when I see you I remember." "I wasn't there," Sarah said carefully. "I wasn't even a warrior. I was a scholar. I protested the Arcturus campaign. I know that intellectually." Marcus ran his hand through his hair. "But my nervous system doesn't care. It just sees Karnath warrior features and remembers them advancing through fire. Remembers the sound of your weapons. Remembers," he stopped. "So you run because you're afraid of me." "No," Marcus met her eyes directly. "I run because I'm afraid of what I might do." The observation deck went silent except for ambient systems. "Explain," Sarah said. "I'm afraid that one day the memories will be too much and I'll lash out. That I'll hurt you because of what your people did, even though you personally did nothing. That I'll become the thing I fought against, someone who punishes the innocent for the guilty's crimes." He paused. "So I run, because staying away from you is the only way I can be certain I won't hurt you. And that matters to me more than my comfort or your research or anything else." Sarah stood absolutely still, processing. Her training as a xenoanthropologist battled with her personal reaction. Professionally, she recognized trauma response, survivor's guilt, complex PTSD. Personally, she was confronting that she, her species, caused this man's suffering. "I chose this work," she said slowly, "because I wanted to build bridges my government burned, but I never considered I might be a walking trigger." "Yeah," Marcus said tiredly. "That's the thing about trauma. It's not logical." They stood watching the stars. Sarah's analytical mind worked through implications. "You said you're afraid of hurting me," she said. "But in 3 months, how many times have we been alone together? This is the first. You always kept escape routes, distance." Sarah turned to look at him. "But you're not running now. You're trapped here with me, door sealed, I'm blocking the exit, and you're not attacking." "No," Marcus agreed, "I'm not." "Why not?" He considered this. "Because despite the memories, despite instincts screaming that Karnath warriors are dangerous, I know you're not the enemy. My nervous system hasn't caught up to what my brain understands, but I'm working on it." He paused. "And because that warrior on Arcturus III showed me mercy, saved my life for no strategic reason, if he could do that in battle, I can damn well manage to not hurt a colleague who's never done anything but her job." Sarah felt something shift. "You're not avoiding me because you hate me. You're avoiding me to protect me. From myself, yeah. That's—" Sarah searched for words. Her language had a term, warrior's restraint in the face of justified fury, but Standard didn't. "That's incredibly brave." Marcus looked surprised. "It's basic decency." "No." Sarah's ears rose, certainty. "My people understand warrior culture. We know what it costs to choose restraint when every instinct demands action. You fight your own trauma daily to ensure you don't harm someone innocent. That's not basic decency. That's courage." The conversation continued for hours. Sarah shared Karnath records about Arcturus III. The commanders who ordered the early advance were court-martialed. The civilian casualties haunted the military, contributed to pressure for peace. Marcus shared more about his platoon, their names, their stories. Sarah listened, bearing witness to their memory. "I can't give them back to you," she said finally. "I can't undo what my people did. I know, but I can promise their deaths mattered. Arcturus casualties, both sides were catalyst for the peace accords. The commanders faced justice. And people like me chose this work, because we never want it to happen again." Marcus nodded slowly. "That helps, more than you might think." Over the following weeks, something shifted. Marcus stopped avoiding Sarah, though he was honest about difficult days when memories were worse. Sarah learned to recognize his triggers, gave him space when needed, but didn't disappear entirely. They developed a working relationship built on brutal honesty. She asked about human trauma response for her research. He answered with caveats that his experiences weren't universal. He asked about Karnath warrior culture. She explained with acknowledgement that her scholarly understanding differed from veteran experience. One evening, Sarah found Marcus teaching younger crew emergency protocols. He was patient, thorough, clearly in his element. "You're good at this," she said after. "I should be. It's what I was doing before the war training recruits." He paused. "I thought I couldn't do it anymore. Thought the memories would interfere." "But they don't." "They do," Marcus corrected. "But they don't stop me. There's a difference." Sarah understood that difference intimately now. They shared coffee. Marcus had gotten her addicted to the human beverage, which she found both disgusting and necessary. "I need to tell you something," she said. "The warrior who saved you on Arcturus III, I think I know who it was." Marcus went very still. "His name was Carthex, my uncle." Sarah's voice was quiet. "He died 2 years after the war, took his own life. The things he saw, the things he did, he couldn't reconcile them. But before he died, he talked about Arcturus III, about pulling a human soldier from rubble. He said it was the only thing he did during the entire war that he didn't regret." Marcus's eyes were bright. "He saved my life because he needed to save someone." "Yes." They sat in silence, bound by the memory of a Karnath warrior who chose mercy and a human soldier who survived to choose restraint. "I'm glad you stopped running," Sarah said eventually. Marcus managed a smile. "I'm glad you cornered me. Turns out the thing I was most afraid of, hurting someone innocent, was less dangerous than I thought. The fear was worse than the reality." "Trauma usually is," Sarah observed. "But courage is also usually quieter than people expect. The kind that involves choosing not to act, choosing restraint, choosing to face your demons. That doesn't get monuments, but it's just as real." Their working relationship evolved into genuine friendship. Marcus shared more about his recovery process, therapy, meditation, the daily work of managing PTSD. Sarah shared her own struggles with collective guilt, the weight of representing a species that caused so much harm. "Do you think we can really integrate?" Marcus asked one day. "Humans and Karnath after everything." Sarah considered. "I think we're doing it right now. Not perfectly, not without pain, but we're trying. That has to count for something. My platoon would have liked you, Marcus said quietly. They would have appreciated your honesty, your willingness to acknowledge what your people did without making excuses. I wish I could have known them. Me too. The station's crew started noticing the change. The human security officer and the Karnath researcher, once carefully avoiding each other, now working together, eating together, even laughing together occasionally. Other mixed-species crews started asking Sarah about her research with renewed interest. Marcus found himself fielding questions from human crew about managing trauma around former enemies. We're becoming a case study, Sarah observed wryly. Could be worse, Marcus replied. Could still be running from each other. On the anniversary of Arcturus III, Marcus was quiet. Sarah didn't push, just stayed nearby if he needed someone. That evening she found him in the observation deck, the same place she'd cornered him months ago. I come here every year, he said. Watch the stars, remember them. All 43. May I stay? Sarah asked, please. They stood together in silence, human and Karnath, bearing witness to the cost of war and the courage required for peace. Thank you, Marcus said finally. For what? For asking why I was running, for not accepting my avoidance, for forcing me to confront the thing I was most afraid of and helping me realize it didn't have to control me. Sarah's ears angled forward, gratitude. Thank you for trusting me with your truth, for showing me that courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about being afraid and choosing not to let that fear harm others. They watched the stars together, bound by honesty, restraint, and the quiet courage it takes to build bridges across galaxies of hurt. The war was over. The healing was just beginning. But it was beginning because one man